Hello and welcome. I I'm not at home right now. I'm mobile. I haven't done a show in a few days, and I grabbed a bunch of mail off my porch, my computer, and I'm elsewhere playing with my case Stockman, and I'm wanting to talk about it, mm, other shit, and I just got laid, and I feel amazing, and like this video is me talking about all of the above. So if you don't want to hear everything, don't listen. I'll probably do a video showing off the case Stockman later, and we'll talk more about it then. But I'll try to keep this PG-13 rated. But you know, I'm gonna talk about the shit. uh, where to start? I'm gonna smoke. It's a good place to start. I met a man. Right now, my hair is like in a ball of rat's nest that's pushed onto the right side of my head. So we're not going to have the camera on today. I don't have anything to really address that with here, and I didn't grab my hairbrush because I'm a moron. Yeah, we'll add that to all the other reasons I usually don't have my camera on. Uh, why the case Stockman? So I have been on the hunt for a Stockman knife for a long time. I decided that that was the pattern of old school knife that I wanted when I was in middle school, maybe even before that, somewhere in there. So I started buying these knives. I have had literally a bucket filled with Stockman knives. Okay, and I never had the right one. Um, the one that I remember the most, it was my birthday, and I had birthday money coming, and I knew this, and I was like, I'm gonna get the Stockman. I'm gonna get the one to be my pocket knife to do all of my pocket knife things. Which this is a very like specified task. This isn't a Swiss Army knife. This isn't a fucking you know single blade Spyderco whatever. This is a Stockman, okay? Or in this case, it could be any old school pocket knife, but this is a non-locking multi-blade penknife to do whatever it is that you need it to do. The Stockman I like because it has one single main blade that is a clip point that is usually fairly long. It's, somewhere in the neighborhood of on a small Stockman, a couple inches to this one is about, it's a 3.5, 4 inch blade. It's counting the unsharpened portion, it's most of 4 inches. This is the large Stockman by Case in amber jig bone. You can see pictures of it on Instagram shortly. I haven't posted those yet, but by the time this is up, they will be. If not, I'll put them in Discord. There'll definitely be pictures in Discord. Uh, I don't know how you would find my Discord, really. So if you're looking for my Discord, hit me up in the comments of this video. But I looked through, it was Bass Pro Shop's knife catalog, trying to decide how I was going to spend my birthday money. And I ended up falling in love with a three-bladed Stockman in that catalog that I was just like, it's a good knife. It's German made. It's whatever. It was a hen and rooster. It was $90. German steel, stag handles, beautiful knife. Totally could have been the knife really, but I got it in hand and just was not happy with it. And then it dulled rather quickly, and I went to sharpen it and put a giant scratch across it. And it was at the point where I could still take it back to Bass Pro, so I did. And at that point, I was like, I'd rather have something else for the $90. I had scratched that itch, and I was, fuck, how old was I? This was in late middle school, early high school, so like eighth grade, ninth grade. So I had other concerns and whatever, and I'm pretty sure I bought a cheaper knife. Spent most of the money on something else. Um, Ever since then, for sure, though, I've been lusting after Stockmans, and even before that one, really, because like I had seen a couple of them growing up, and was like, "Oh, I like that," and then I had a couple of cheap ones that I had bought or were given to me. Especially like when I was like, "Oh, Grandpa, I like the three-bladed one." You know, Here's a cheap one, that kind of shit. But I didn't have a good one, and I was on the hunt for the exact one that I wanted. Because my thing with stock ones is that I don't like most of them, and the reason I didn't like that Hen and Rooster was because it was too small. I'm a weirdo. I have big hands, and I like bigger knives than most people. Um, I will freely admit that to most people, a large Stockman is probably not a small pocket knife. This is a small pocket knife to me. That's what I use it for. This is the smallest knife I would carry. You know, I have big hands. I like a big handle. Uh, as a result of that, though, it was extremely difficult to find a Stockman that I liked. And I tried them all. I tried two or three different versions of Bucks because I love Buck knives. I was just like, the Buck Stockman, the Buck Stockman, gotta have the Buck Stockman. No, as it turns out, all of the Buck ones suck for me. They might be awesome for you. They're way too tiny. Buck doesn't make a Stockman big enough for me. Um, who was it I tried other than that? Gerber made one. Gerber made one in a stag handle. It was like $35, but it was kind of weird. It was a good knife for that much money. Like, it was Chinese made, which is a ding. I don't want a Chinese knife for this kind of a knife. There's really only one acceptable country for me for this knife, and it's America. For Hen and Rooster or something like that, that is a German company and has been since forever. Those I would accept from Germany, but I'm not going to accept a Hen and Rooster made in China. And there's a lot of that with a lot of companies, and I'm not accusing Hen and Rooster of anything, but like Puma, I think, is one that does it. There's a few others that do it where, like, they definitely still make knives in Germany, Boker, but they also make a shitload of stuff in China, and it makes it impossible to fucking trust their name. Not a big fan of that. Um, After several other stabs at trying different things, I decided to give Case a try because I was like, yeah, there's a big Case store here, and I'm not a Case knife person. Never was. Didn't care for them really, and decided to give them a whirl because I found an outlet store and found a cheap one. And this was my thing with a Case knife was basically that I had held them, I had looked at them, I didn't think they were worth the money really. It was, I don't like paying for glitzy shit a lot, and this struck me as something where you were paying a lot for show. And on some of these, you most certainly are. If you buy an abalone one, I was correct. But those are also really, really cool. So it's, whatever. I would never buy an abalone one, but if someone bought one for me, I would love them. It's one of those kind of things. It's jewelry, um, and that's what this is really. Like this is pocket jewelry. The thing that I didn't get about Case that I get now is that they make their shit to function. This is not that hen and rooster, that dulled or whatever. Like this is they've been making the same knife since whenever was it? I think they were started in the 20s. They might have been started before that. They make a good knife. The thing that sold me on Case was when I looked through that Case outlet store, I found their large stockman, and then I found one that was like 20 or 30 bucks because it was in stainless and it had plastic handles on it. So I bought that thing and I carried it for a while. And the thing that I didn't like about that knife was that it was in stainless and that it had plastic handles. Everything else I loved about that knife. So I traded that to somebody at some point, threw that in on a trade because I wouldn't need it anymore. And I kind of feel bad about that because my mother bought me that knife. But I'll say she bought me this one now because this one looks better. Um, this one is just the carbon steel amber jigged bone. It's their peach seed jigging, which I actually quite like. I had never seen that before. I ordered this one kind of blind, just based on liking the looks of the picture. And my thing is, I want stag, but because of laws now, stag is expensive. And amber jigged bone gives you a lot of that look for free, basically. This is a free material for knife makers. Cat, what are you doing? Fucking retard. It's not even my cat. It's half of why I like him. He has cats. Sorry, I'm smoking while we're talking. Yeah, but I do not like stainless on my previous case knife. God damn. Weed, sorry. I didn't like the stainless on the previous case knife because it looked bad, basically. I wanted an older school looking pocket knife. And that's what this one has that the other one didn't. And this was $70, which that's a lot for a knife, but like back in the day, I was willing to spend 90 when I was a kid on a hen and rooster. So to me, $70 on this is not that much money. As far as why I picked the Stockman, it's pretty simple. I looked at all the patterns. It's the coolest one. It does the most things for the least amount of fuss. Once you go past 3 blades, it gets very difficult to have one large blade and, to have them all easily deployable and stuff. And, like, if you're gonna be a whittler, I could see, like, a 4-blade Congress being, like, your favorite knife. For me, I like the Stockman because you get a large clip blade that I find useful for many things. It's just I want a knife that I carry to have a blade like that. Like that's just its general purpose. That is the main blade of the knife. The other 2 blades you can do various things with, but here's how I use them. It's twofold. Either this is a carving knife, and these are carving blades to do specific tools, which, if you're out in the woods, that's what this knife is. Okay. In the city, I like the sheep's foot blade as a general shit task utility knife blade. So you can pull it out and cut tape and open boxes and do whatever like that that you need to do without fucking up your main blade that you use for everything. The spay blade is meant to be a surgical blade, and as such, it's really easy to make it a flesh only blade. I think that's the thing to do with this one. Even in whittling, if you're going to use this as a whittler, you would save this for like, hey, I need really, really fine work, intricate tasks. I'm going to need a sharp blade. That's what the third blade is for. Okay, so I like this knife because it has a general purpose knife and a shit knife, along with that third surgical blade that you can keep really, really fucking sharp and always ready. I think it's the handiest pattern of these traditional knives. It's the most handsome pattern of them. Uh, there's a lot of others. If I was going to go with something other than this, I like a trapper. That's two long blades. One's kind of surgical and one's a clip point. And then other than that, I don't really care for multi blade designs. I'd rather have one good functional blade. So along those lines, the Kershaw Culpepper is calling my name. I'm gonna get at least one of those. If you want to know what I like in like a traditional pocket knife, go look at that thing. I like that quite a bit. I like boys' knives, camp knives, but the ones I really like are the Swiss Army ones, which are kind of a different animal. But I like among my pile of knives, I do have a love for traditional pocket knives. And that's where the Stockman fits. I wanted one knife that scratched that itch, and I sold my last case going, yeah, we'll upgrade. At some point, it's not a high priority thing. We need this for this trade right now. It's basically new in the box case knife as far as the other guy's concerned. It got me what I needed in the trade, and I knew this was something that I could go to a gun show later and pick out the exact one I wanted. Sorry, I'm whistling. And I didn't have to go to a gun show. I already knew the model, and that helps. And I just kind of watched for one that looked right as far as a handle material. And the nice part about using bone is, like I said, free. The cattle industry provides knife makers with all the fucking cow bone you could want. And jigging is done by a dude with a tool. And the amber on this, I'm guessing, is they jig it and then dye it somehow. I don't know. It looks fucking cool though. It gives it kind of a, you know, hide look to it, kind of like stag does, where it's got like a outer bark and it goes in. I think that was originally the purpose for jigging bone at all, was we want stag. We don't have stag money. What can you get me for free? And jigged bone was come up with as like, you know, thing to do. And honestly, for a stockman, I think jigged cow bone is very appropriate. The stockman pattern name comes from its use in the stockyards. The my utility blade, box cutter, fucking shit blade, the sheep's foot blade, Originally, that was for cleaning out horse hooves. That's what that blade is for. Okay, the spay blade, surgical blade for me, is for cutting the balls off of animals. That's literally what it's for. The third clip point is, just general purpose. It's the exact same thing that I use it for today. Okay. Basically, I've mm, adapted these old blades to modern purposes. But like if, a cowboy from the 1880s or whatever and I were both talking about this knife, it would be a very similar conversation. We would have different shit tasks, but our shit task knife is the same knife. Okay, it's that sheep's foot blade because you can use it to scrape out the inside of a horse hoof and do shit work with it. It's for modern purposes. I need something to like open boxes with and do other shit that like is gonna get crap on the blade or it's gonna dull it up or whatever. Like it's something that for whatever reason I need a knife for the rest of the day too that's gonna be sharp to cut other things with. Like that's 100% why this knife has two blades. At least the third one, like I said, is for surgery. Like and like this was a thing a lot of people don't get back in the day. Is like so many people were like farm hands and stockmen and shit like that. That like that was a part of life. And if not, the men who developed these patterns developed the patterns for those men. So everybody kind of gets them to some extent. And I think it makes it kind of a cool piece of like cowboy kit. For me, if I was going to break this thing out, it's EDC around town, or I'm going to go whittle. I like a stockman as a whittler, and that's not everybody's thing. They make a couple of specific models for whittling, but they're basically modified stockmans. They made sorry, they make some 4 blade models and shit too, like I said. But this is what I like. If I'm gonna whittle or carve in the woods, this is the exact stockman that I like, and the stockman is the knife that I like. Okay, and as far as this one versus my old one, most of that's just aesthetics. Although I will say the carbon steel will be appreciated because I did not care for the looks of the stainless steel. That's all that is. The stainless, I'm sure, would have been a great carving knife. It just kind of looks atrocious, in my opinion. It might be okay. I have my eye on a case in stainless right now. It's a single blade in brown plastic. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I might get that just to play with it. But I hate spending that money when I just bought this. Like a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why are you spending $70 on that? Like you should get a cheaper knife, whatever." This scratches the whole itch. This is what I really need. This is what I really want. If I bought a $30 knife right now, that's just pissing that money away because I don't want that knife. I want this knife. There's a lot of that with me lately that like I've kind of decided what I want on some things. At least like this case knife for damn sure I have. Oh. Like my buddy, I hope watches this video. Maybe he'll get more about my thoughts behind the Stockman and why I value it enough to throw it in my EDC for $70. And like this is what I'm really doing right now is rounding out my EDC And I'm not like rounding out the shit that I carry every day. I'm rounding out the shit that goes on like my nightstand of stuff that is like, oh, I might carry this. And the reason I'm doing that is it seems to me that the good old days are behind us for sure. And right now, we're still in the good times, relatively speaking, to where things are going to be. As such, I'm filling my toy chest and I'm filling my pantry and a bunch of other shit. Like things are only going to get worse from here. That's what I'm convinced of. Hope I'm wrong, but as such, I don't want to buy a cool pocket knife. Although I am probably going to buy a fucking Culpepper because Kershaw knows how to take my money. We'll get to that in a minute. As such, with me thinking the world's going to end or whatever, I'm spending the extra $40 and getting the knife I want. Now, as for the Culpepper, the thing that has made me decide to get that, they make a special edition version for Smoky Mountain Knife Works now. You can Google this. Oh, so the Kershaw Culpepper Copper from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. They had a knife that I already loved the design of, but hated the steel of, and was like, you know, you could do crazy custom versions of the handle, and that'd be cool too. Well, Smoky Mountain Knife Works requested version of it has crazy custom handles and is in D2. The handles, I like the original handle as much as the new one, but the new one is solid copper scales. And it's only $10 more, and you get a D2 blade and solid copper scales. It's tempting to order a dozen of these and sit on them. These people are going to want these. And my thought is I could shipwreck them. If I did a good job, it would increase their value. I don't know. That might be just a waste of money. I definitely want one of those for me now. That's on my the next knife I buy is gonna be a fucking Kershaw Culpepper sometime later this month or next month probably. That is if I don't fucking go all in and buy like a half a dozen of them to sit on. I might do that because there's a thing Smoky Mountain Knife Works does Zezel or whatever, and I have that from buying girl clothes, and it's a thing where you can split it into 4 payments. So I could load up on like 6 of those for $200 to spend $50 this month, and then spend $50 for the next 3 months, and have a pile of those for very little effort. I might do that. It would be cool to have more than one of those because they aren't going to make that one forever. If they do make another special edition or whatever, they might make a cooler one or something. So there's always that danger. But I think if I'm right about these, and the one that I do for me comes out good shipwrecked, I'm just going to shipwreck them all. Which, for those not in the know, shipwrecking is with copper or brass or bronze. You corrode the fuck out of it and then stabilize it with some sort of clear coat. And it has this like crazy blue black patina. Let's look up shipwrecked copper EDC. And you'll see the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like people do this for like, knives and like dice. And I've seen a Burt's Bees tube that was done with this, lighters that have done with this, like lots of other shit. It's a cool thing. And I would like to see what at least one of those looks like that, and I'd like to have a stash of them. So I really like copper and brass. I think those are cool metals to have shit in, like especially with like the shipwreck stuff that you can do with them. I have a pin and lighter on the way that are one's made of 50 cal brass and the other's made of 375 H and H brass. Like, I mean, like, oh, you don't need those. Well, I do need a lighter. Right now, I've been using a Bic, and I'm gonna keep my Bics, but now I have a dedicated. This is a clipper that made a 50 cal one or whatever. I thought it was cool. Um, the pin is a Fisher Space pin, and it's replacing one I lost. It was $20, so that's not like a huge deal. That's how I justify doing this EDC shit, though. Is basically that like as a prep, I have a lot of other stuff. This stuff makes me happy, and I don't think I'm going to get a chance to buy some fancy EDC shit for a while, maybe a long while. And some of it is legitimately stuff I need. Like I bought when I went looking into this, I thought about, well, hell, I could just get a Leatherman. And I abandoned the idea of getting a Stockman because I needed a Leatherman so bad. And then I found a Leatherman rebar for $40 on eBay. So I bought that. And at that point, I was like, well, shit, I just saved $40 on a multi tool. $40, we could go buy a cheap pocket knife at least. And that's how we ended up here. If you're going to spend 30, $40 on a pocket knife, you might as well get the one you want. Not saying that that can't happen at $30, $40, but for me, it's not the case one, and it's not the case name that I like so much. It's the size and the style, I guess, of the handle. It's perfect. Most Stockmans are not this big. They're not square like this. They make them round. Like this is the exact knife that I like. After looking for a long time, and it's one of those like I didn't come to this decision, really by the seat of my pants. Like, kind of did, but it was one of those like when I went looking at knives, I was like, oh fuck yeah, Stockmans. I could probably use one of those. And even if it's just for fucking pictures and fondling, I think this thing is worth it. And it serves other purposes. It is a toy in essence. Oh, I have so much shit to buy. And like that's the argument for that is you have other stuff you could spend money on. Yeah, but the other stuff that I need to spend money on is like a bunch of car shit that I'm gonna get eventually no matter what. That's relatively cheap. Oh. Or it's shit like a PVS 7. Okay, I want night vision, and you know that's a good way to get it cheap. But even that is 1,000 bucks, 1,500 bucks. Would the $70 I wasted on a pocket knife help me in that effort? Yes, it would, 100%. And I get the whole penny saved is a penny earned, yada yada yada. At the same time, uh, I will figure out how to get that night vision. Um, I would rather have a toy right now. That's kind of my thing with most of what we're talking about here is like, oh, I could definitely do things differently and probably have had a couple of PVS 7s sitting here instead of random shit. But to be honest, a PVS 7 is cool with all the shit to use it with and everything. And I'm at the point now where like I have almost everything else but like a laser for a rifle and a rhino mount. That's, okay. Now we're talking, you know. My helmet is getting pretty rigged away for fucking everything, including night vision. I have parts for that shit on order on eBay. Um, and once the helmet's rigged, that's one of those things that, like, if you don't have a way to attach night vision to your head, there's no reason to buy a PVS 7. If you have a way to attach night vision to your head, it becomes a thing that's on my list of things to get because it's relatively cheap and I can just clip it on and have heads up night vision. And it's not the best, and I'm not saying that it is at all. It's the cheapest, and it works. It's my favorite of all of the night vision units. That's why it's the one I'm going to get. I'm debating trading my Flex Raider for a couple of night vision units. And if I do that, my buddy is going to end up with one of them. That might there might be stipulations on that. I don't know. I might ask for, sexual favors or a shotgun for free or both. I don't know. We'll decide what that ends up being. But I think for that Flux Raider, I can get two PVS 7s or maybe a PVS 7 and a PVS 14. He wants a PVS 14. I don't like the PVS 14. I don't like having one eye in the dark. It's not my thing. I I have run a PVS 14 ad nauseum. I've run dual tubes ad nauseum, and I've run 7s ad nauseum. What I had in my go bag was a set of Sentinels with Anvis glass, which the AB Night Vision Sentinels are good. And if you put Anvis 9 glass on them, they're even better. And that's what I was running. And then my backups were a set of 7s with a Rhino mount. And, my boss was like, why do you bother having that thing? I was like, what if this stops working? He's like, they won't stop working. I'm like, what if they do? He's like, it's a decent point. Like a set of 7s is cheap insurance. I was carrying the night vision that I was carrying in those Sentinels back then. That setup was Ambus 9 tubes, Ambus 9 glass, Sentinel housing. So I was running a set of Ambus 9s in a ground hardened housing. That's like 10 or 12 grand worth of night vision, especially with the fucking Wilcox mount and laser and helmet and shit. You know, I had some money in that. And I had a PVS 7 that I had scored for $700. And I had a Rhino mount that I had for free. So I threw those in the bag as backup. And my thing was that at that time, what we were doing was building PVS 7s and selling them. And I was doing the testing on them and making sure that they were all fucking defogged and good to go and whatever. And I played with them a lot. I've used 7s a lot as a result of that. And, the Cyclops thing has its disadvantages, but it's cheap as fuck and it works. And it's heads up. Like, this is half of the thing that, like, a lot of people don't get is it depends on what you are wanting to do. If you're going to want to shoot guns, the 7 is maybe not the unit for you. There are better units for guns. PVS 14 is a way better unit for guns. You can bolt it behind an optic or use it in front of one eye. That's cool. The PVS 7 doesn't do that. What the PVS 7 does is gives you binoculars that see in the dark. That's what I want. I want them on my head. And then we'll adapt everything else to use that. That's just me. I've used a shitload of night vision. That's what I want. What I'm telling you, you should probably get is a PVS 14 because that's what most people end up liking, and it's relatively cheap, and it's a more advanced piece of kit than the 7. The 7 has a really long lens on it, but I fucking like its lens. It does make it to where you can bump into some shit. I'll admit that. And you need to be careful of stairs. I'll admit that. Whereas, in dual tubes, less of a concern. Just put it that way. It's still a concern. Like that's the thing is most people need to understand is negotiating stairs in night vision. Uh, if it's a staircase that you've walked a lot and you can do it blindfolded, no big deal. If it's an unfamiliar staircase and you don't really know what's going on, you're going to be going slow. You're going to be going slow regardless of what night vision you wear. Like this is the thing is, yeah, do dual tubes give you depth perception? Yes, they do. Um, does that make it to where you can just run upstairs? No, not really. If you had to do that, you would be better at it. But here's the thing is, in reality, while you're wearing nods and shit, you have to be very, very careful. You don't want to fall down. You don't want to damage the unit, right? And you don't want to fucking damage your neck, which all this shit is attached to. And then on top of this, if you're using them in a tactical environment, you have to be careful about coming around corners because you have shit bolted to your head that people can just grab. And it makes a hell of a handle. And you need to be aware of that. And the danger with stairs is like you could fall. There could be shit on the stairs that makes you fall. There could be people hiding around the corners if the stairs turn, which most stairs do. Like, stairs are fucking dangerous, especially in night vision. Um, you know, kind of a weird segue in the middle of all this fucking talk about case stockmans and getting laid. Oh, my advice to you, young man, would be to go and get laid. And, like, apparently, women are whores, so just find one and pay her, would be my advice. Skip the middleman, get a hottie, and, spend a not insignificant amount of money and get her for the entire evening. Would be my advice. And once you have her for the entire evening, I would thoroughly enjoy using the fuck out of her. That's the thing I really don't understand about men. You go through all this bullshit, all of it, just to fucking hook up with somebody. And then, like, you know, have bad sex for 5 minutes and then leave after you come. Like, I guess that's what the rest of this podcast is about. Don't do that. Like, motherfucker, there's a billion other things to do with a girl other than stick your dick into her. And, like, most of them are very fun. you know, you spend $2,000 to do whatever the fuck you want to a girl for 24 hours. Maybe you could be a little bit more creative than fucking her for 5 minutes and running away and aim. Not that I've seen that before. Totally have. And like you'd be like, oh well, that's because you're a tranny and you're ugly and yada yada. No, no, honey. Like this was a. I've seen this with men before. Some men, when they orgasm, just I don't know what it is. They have to go hide. They have to go cry. It's kind of sad. I don't know. Like that was never me. Anyway, this K Stockman's fucking cool. That hen and rooster I had back in the day was cool too. I kind of regret not getting another one of those back in the day and just keeping it. But had I gotten it, I would have sold that thing eventually. That's kind of how I was for a long time. And you'd be like, sorry, I had to go scream at animals. His cat fucking gets high as fuck too and goes around yowling. Reminds me of, well, my cat. Anywho, the reason that I for a really long time was in the mode of, you know, let's buy it, try it, and sell it is I wanted to know what I actually liked and didn't like and what I actually wanted, and it was the only way to fucking do it. And like, is there stuff that I regret selling? Not really. It's all replaceable. And like, this is the thing that you learn about this stuff. It's like, it's cool to get something back that you had for a long time. It's cool to have something for a long time or whatever, like a generational thing. But it's, no more or less cool than getting it back, and it's no more or less cool than getting a new thing to me. It's all the same. And for something like this, I want this to be mine. I'm buying this new in this case knife. A lot of thought and other bad purchases went into this one. I don't know if this will be the last Stockman I ever buy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I quite like this one. I kind of wish the amber jig bone on the back side was a little bit better. It's mm, it's not as dark as the front. The front looks exactly like the fucking pictures on the fucking Amazon page. The back, I don't know if they just use a shittier piece or something. Like, I don't understand that. I've noticed this with a lot of case knives though, that like the show side of the knife gets a lot better piece of whatever this is than the back side. Maybe that's just because these are mass market production, whatever. Like that's where oh well, what's the next thing you'd want to get? Well, people keep talking about Great Eastern cutlery, but the stuff that has attracted my eye is the Tony Bose stuff that he did with Case. I would like some of each of that, to be honest. I don't think I'll ever have the money to get some of the case Tony Bose stuff. They're like $500 for a fucking Stockman. Some of the Great Eastern cutleries can get that way too. But it's like one of those, like, when Blade HQ gets them, they're $100, but they have them for 5 seconds, and everybody resells them. I think there's a few other places that get them like that. That, like, that's the retailer or whatever. But like, there's such a small production that you know they end up being expensive too. I kind of hate shit like that, and that's kind of why I was just buying a production one. Maybe if we're just rolling in the money at some point, I'll spend you know $500 and get the pimptastic version of the case. Until then, I'll keep watching Blade HQ to get a, Great Eastern Cutlery, I guess. But like, that's half of my thing is like, I'm picky about these kind of knives, and I'd hate to just grab one, that Great Eastern Cutlery made just because I want to try one of their knives and just like roll the dice on a pattern. But they did have a lot of single blades, and I like a single blade. So I might just get one of those. That's kind of the cheapest route to go to. Like, when you start doing the multi-blade stack design, that's where that runs into money. Honestly, I think Case makes a pretty good knife for $70. I thoroughly enjoy this knife. If I had to criticize anything, it would be the sharpening on the sheep's foot blade. It looks like a fucking blind guy did it. Yeah, it's eh. For $70, that ought to not be that way. I don't send knives back though. I usually just live with them and fix them because I hate shipping shit. I really hate shipping shit. So I'll probably just take some stones and work that out. Like, that's some of most knives in my mind, is that like, if you're buying a factory knife, they expect you to sharpen it pretty much. Some of them try to like put an edge on shit, but that's all they do really, is they take a fucking belt grinder and they put an edge on shit. It's not even a very good edge usually. It's kind of what this knife looks like. Somebody sharpened it with a belt grinder, kind of half-assed. Well, anyway, uh, that's about all I have for this. I could keep going maybe, but I wanted to, talk about Case Stockmans and other things and go for about an hour or so. Sorry, I had to cough. I need to go do other things, but I hadn't done a show in a while. For those of you who are missing me, here you go. I'll probably do another show or two talking more about pocket knives. I like pocket knives, and I definitely am going to do a video on my EDC eventually. That is, it's staged now, kind of like there's, you know, my purse, right? And there's the stuff that's on me, and then there's like a bag of stuff that's on my nightstand. Like, maybe I throw that in my purse if I'm going someplace overnight, right? But like other than that, yeah, it stays at home. And that's kind of where the stock one's going to be. More than likely, it's going to be in a pile of knives that's on my nightstand that you know, I might just throw it in my pocket today. And that's kind of my philosophy on, I guess, pocket knives for EDC or whatever is, yeah, you could just pick one and have that, but like it's not me. Like I find it difficult to pick one knife. I usually have more than one knife on me. Now, I might only have one in my pocket, but my I'm a girl and my purse definitely has two or three knives in it. Some days I don't have any knife in my pocket. It's just the knives in the bag. These days I go out a lot with my phone in one pocket and my weed pen and prayer beads in the other pocket and my purse. My prayer beads are like a mace made of coins made to beat people with. So maybe the case will get added in with the fucking prayer beads from time to time, but I like rolling a little heavy, to be honest, when it comes to pocket knives. Once you have a purse, you might as well. It's kind of what I figure. I find it difficult to choose between about four or five different pocket knives usually, so I just bring them all. That's my solution to which knife is the best knife for EDC. That's my thing is like I don't so much like to use all those knives to cut things with EDC test. I only need one knife for that. The other four are because I like knives and they're cool. And they're fondling knives. They're shit to play with whenever you get stuck somewhere. That's what a pocket knife is. A lot for me is it was the thing that I always had in my pocket. That worst came to worst, you could always play the pocket knife. Go find something to whittle or you know go stab someone. Lots of fun to be had with a pocket knife when you're a kid. Don't stab kids, people. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a weirdo that likes to like fondle high end pocket knives. But like it's a thing I picked up from doing that. Like it was, between going to school and church and shit as a kid, like there was lots of time to kill. And that's what this is to me. This is if I want a knife to kill time, I'm gonna throw a stockman in the bag. Better yet, a knife collection and like a fucking iPhone with a set of headphones and like watch some Cutlery Lover or something like that and fucking smoke some weed and play with some pocket knives. Like that's my plan to kill time in the apocalypse right there. Hopefully, we still have YouTube. If we don't have YouTube, then it might be a movie. You might be like, why are you going to be killing time? Oh, trust me, life is killing time. That's one thing you'll find as you get older. You know, at best, you find a cool way to kill time that, gets you some money. At worst, you're just killing time waiting for other people to do X. There's a lot of that in life. It's really kind of fucking annoying. And this is why we have pocket knives. That's a good note to end on. And it's right about an hour. It's almost like I planned that, but I really didn't. I'll see you guys later. I hope you liked this. I know at least some knife weirdo that's into kinky sex probably is beating it off to this video. Thinking of you. I'm not gonna say your name. See you guys later.